have you today on our class, and I'm so excited that people get to learn what you have developed over several years, almost a decade or more, a very special blueprint that can help them come into their personal brand power. Now, before we go there, why don't you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Marisa Murgatroyd, and I like to say that my superpower is helping you really become the superpower to your tribe so you can change the world from your living room. So many people are out there doing amazing work in the world, and it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do if nobody can understand why they should work with you and why they should hire you. So really what I've been on is a quest to really help people translate the essence of who they are into the words and into the images and into the experiences that they create for the people that they lead. Because when people can feel you through what it is that you're doing and creating, it creates a new level of relationship. And we're way beyond the point in time where people buy just information or products or services because they need that information or that products or the services. People buy based on who you are. People buy based on the stories that you tell. People buy based on who they want to become, which is mirrored by who you are being in the way that you're relating to them. So the market has really shifted from what it used to be and what people are expecting and desiring out of the people they choose to lead them to the person that they want to become. And it used to be in the market where people were obsessed with creating a niche. Now, they really needed to understand what do you do and who you serve and what's the kind of unique thing that you're doing. But to be honest, we now live in a world where tribe is so much more important than niche. And tribe is a special kind of people that you attract within what you do. So your job isn't necessarily to attract every single person that needs what you have to offer. It's really to attract the people who resonate with you, who share your values, who believe what you believe. So my greatest gift and desire, and I've been working with 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, and really becoming a lot more congruent in the way they present themselves online and offline. So people around the world can hear them through the screen, through a camera, from the stage, wherever it happens to be as they share their message. Because when you're the one person saying the same thing in the same way as everybody else, nobody's paying attention. And it's no longer enough just to be awesome at what you do. It's really all about who you are and what you allow people to feel. So as someone who really enjoys this process of translating the essence of who someone is into form and really understanding how can you be that leader to your audience, that's what I really love to do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you were really reflecting that when you came down to EverCoach Summit, and that was the first time that I really got to see your work. I was just amazed, and then we have been connected, and I've had the chance to really explore your work a lot more, and we're bringing some of your products as well on our platform. But tell us where you got started. Why personal branding? Where did you get the idea of saying, hey, listen, the industry is changing a little bit. People are not only connecting to how you can help each other, but also there's an element of tribe. I know it's a big element because we kind of thrive on that. EverCoach is a great tribe, and we are one community of big community of coaches. But I would be curious to know, how did you discover that? What were your steps? How did you find your own personal brand power? And I'm sharing this, I'm getting her to share it because I know that a lot of times it's our mental journey that needs to get there before we can actually make progress, right? We need to conceptually understand, okay, that's the power that I'm going to have once I can lean into the system, once I can understand this blueprint that we're going to discuss today in just a few minutes. But before you're even ready to be able to use the system, before you're even ready to understand the blueprint, what you need to understand is where that blueprint is coming from, so you can accept it and it can be in your body and you can really use it then, because then it's true to you, like you can understand where that background is coming from. So it'll be amazing if you could tell a little bit about that background.
Sure, and I grew up in a family that really, really valued knowledge and education. You know, my mom has a PhD and my dad has a master's degree, and the day that I was born, my dad basically invested in mutual funds for my college education. So I was basically taught that if I just got really good grades and went to a really good school, that my future would roll out my feet like a red carpet. And so I kind of bought into that dream hook, line, and sinker, and I ended up in the Ivy League. And then the year that I graduate, it was actually the year that the first internet, boom had busted. and I couldn't find a job. So here I was with this Ivy League degree. I graduated with honors. I had everything, all the credentials to my name, and nobody wanted to hire me. Right? And the only place that would hire me was actually the circus, believe it or not. So I got my first job. I went from the Ivy League to working with Cirque du Soleil, like ushering and doing construction, and my family just about disowned me. But while I was there, I started to realize that they were able to go beyond having skills, and they were able to create this beautiful like production, out of their work that would just mesmerize people for a while. So I thought, well, if I go to art school, maybe I can learn how to create all this beautiful thing, so it's not just about knowing stuff, I could create stuff too. So I went to art school and I learned how to create all of this stuff, films and photos and design and everything, and you name it. And then I went back and I finished grad school and I tried to get a job and nobody would hire me. I was like, what's going on? I went to the Ivy League, I've got all the smarts and the knowledge and the education. I went to art school, I know how to create and produce all this stuff. Nobody wants to hire me. And then I ended up bussing tables, and I was also gardening as well here in Los Angeles because I couldn't find a job. No one would hire me. So I had all of this education. I was bussing tables. And the first week that I was bussing tables, a woman walks in who's the mother of a friend of mine. And she's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And I said, it's going all right, but I can't find like a job. And she ultimately ended up introducing me to my first job in the documentary film world. And I realized, you know what? All I really needed to do was know somebody. That's really fascinating. That's really interesting. So it's not just about having skills and knowledge and expertise, locking myself in a room and creating all this stuff, working so hard that I never saw anybody, but I had to actually be social and get to know people and have relationships, because great stuff comes out of relationships. So then I started to build all these relationships, but still something was missing. Like I was getting more work and getting more jobs because I knew people, but I wasn't really able to charge the amount of money that I wanted to charge. And something was missing. It felt like I wasn't standing out from everybody else who was doing, at the time, I was working with helping people in branding and web design. And there was so many other people doing branding and web design, right? And then I started telling stories. I started changing the way that I communicated. I started talking about myself and my background and the things that I cared about and believed in, and the random trips to the supermarket and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, people started to respond to me in a really different way. And it turned out the more that I told stories and the more that I shared of my own life, the more people listened. And that started to change the way that people reacted to me. And what I realized along that path is that the most important thing of all is not what you know, it's not what you create, it's not who you know, but it's who you are. And really the biggest thing that differentiates you in the marketplace is who you are. And people do business with people. They don't do business with companies. They don't do business with products. They don't do business with services. They do business with people. And that's why some of the most valuable companies on the earth, from like Apple, who had Steve Jobs at the helm, to Virgin that had Richard Branson at the helm, they've got these powerful leaders that are really showing up. And I bet that you could imagine either of these leaders in your mind's eye right now. If I were to start to describe Steve Jobs, what does his clothes say about him? The perfectly round glasses, the immaculate black turtleneck shirt with the jeans, right? What does all that say about him and what he values, right? The way people present themselves conveys so much about who they are and what they value. You could probably describe Steve Jobs' personality just by seeing a picture of him. And based on the decisions that they're making. And of course, this is something, I'm talking about a big business, but this also impacts little businesses too.
Yeah, radically.
Yeah, radically.
Yeah.
Like people are choosing to do business, especially as a coach. People don't choose a coach because you've got 5 degrees and you drive a Maserati, right?
Yeah.
They choose a coach because they feel something from that coach. Like as they say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And when you can feel someone's heart, when you feel what they believe and what they value, that's when you make the choice to want to work with them. And that's super important, to make that transformation from talking about your business and your products and your knowledge and your expertise and your services to really just being yourself and talking about things that matter to you and experiences that you had. Because otherwise, you sound like a company who's doing marketing versus a human being who's got problems to solve, challenges to overcome, aspirations that they want to move towards.
That's amazing. So you said that in your story you found that it wasn't only about knowing the tools to be able to help. It wasn't about knowing people, but it was mostly about being able to express who you were. And that got you from being an absolutely wonderful intellectual person to being an absolute authority today in whatever field that you have been in the past years, especially past few years in this space where you're educating other people on how to bring their power in, but you have been able to replicate that success all through your life. So here's a quick note for everybody who's listening, and that's why these stories are so important for people to hear, because a lot of coaches get into their head. They go, oh, I've got the certification, or I've learned the method, or I know the methodology, I should be successful already. And they don't see why it's not working, why clients are not enrolling, because it's not about the method. No. The method's out there. Everybody has certifications. Why you? Yeah. And that conversation and that thing only happens once you have, yes, maybe got an introduction, but even to have that conversation after and to be able to really create that interaction that will help you enroll that client needs to be a lot more about you. And that's what differentiates you for you to be able to kind of be as an outstanding coach.
Absolutely. And the one thing that's really, really fascinating is it's not just about being you, it's about being you at all different levels. Because if you actually look at what inspires someone to choose someone over someone else, that only 20% of someone's decision about whether to trust you and whether to hire you comes from what you actually say. Mm-hmm. And the other 80% comes from a lot of the energetics of how you're showing up. Everything from what you're wearing to your overall just energy of what it's conveying, to your personality, to the way that you're holding yourself, all of these other signals that you're sending. When you're online, it might be the visuals of your website. It might be the photograph that you choose to represent yourself. It's all of these tiny little signals that together are forming their impression of who you are. And people form this impression super fast. They make all these little, like the Terminator. They're just seeing all these different aspects about who you are, and they're making a judgment. This person is trustworthy. This person is someone that I want to follow. This person is someone that I want to work with. Or this person kind of sketches me out a little bit, They feel like they're lacking confidence, like I'm not really sure. It seems like they're saying one thing, but the way they're showing up is something else. And even if they can't put their finger on what's off, if there's something off, they can feel it.
That's true.
So it's really interesting because if you have not done this work to consciously define how you're showing up in the world, then other people will judge you based on how you're accidentally showing up.
Yeah, their unconscious will pick whatever you were unconsciously not magnifying. So you have to consciously take like a magnifying glass and say, oh, this is the part of personality, this is how I want to show up. Yeah. Right? So that's amazing. To just make it real for people who are listening right now, because it might look like, oh, okay, conceptually I get it, but how does it really translate to somebody's business, somebody's life? Would you be able to share some case studies or some stories around how you helped maybe a business or an individual that before they came, how they showed up in the world, after how they showed up in the world, and what really happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my clients, her name is Lynn Olivari, and when she came to me, this is actually a story of someone who's a successful entrepreneur. And I've worked with people who are very beginners. I've worked with people who already have businesses. So she had a 6-figure travel business. It was called Discount All Inclusive. And it was based on selling travel at the cheapest possible rates and having like a small margin. So she was miserable in this business, and it was starting to go down and down and down every single year because now you've got these giant travel companies that she's competing with. And whatever your business, you're a lot of times competing with people who are way bigger than you. So how do you be in competition to people who are already well known, who've got more reach, who've got more marketing budget and all of that? So on the side, she had a business that she was actually a little bit embarrassed to talk about. She was leading these swinger cruises for couples to go on cruises and kind of swing, right? But the reason why she was doing this was because she actually believed in helping reignite their relationship and their marriages. So she was working with people who've been married 20 and 30 years, and the passion had gone out of their relationship. And whether or not they did anything, just simply being in that environment was enough to awaken something in themselves. And the interesting thing is she was embarrassed to talk about that business because it wasn't 100% congruent and aligned. But when I started to talk to her about what do you really want to do, over here you're doing this discount all-inclusive travel, which is selling tickets to the lowest possible bidder. Over here you're doing swinger cruises that you don't really want to talk about. What's going on? And what I realized is that she has such a fun person, and she's so adventurous. She's the kind of person who walks into the room and everybody wants to hang out with them and just magnetizes everybody towards her. So we started to work together and say, well, what is this really about? Like, what do you really want to do? It sounds like you do love travel. You've got decades of experience in travel. How can you do something that's more congruent with who you are? So she was able to step forward as the face and voice of her brand and stop being in the shadows trying to hide doing this work and start really talking about the power of travel to be transformational, to allow you to experience things that you never would. So together we helped her create a brand new business called Transformational Travel, where she works with transformational leaders like you and me and helps them plan destination retreats all over the world. So now she's helping people create these unique experiences using all of her expertise in travel where they could have an experience of personal development and transformation. And since we launched that last year, this year she's been able to grow her business. I think it's going to be somewhere between 300 and 500%. And the leaders that are coming to her to hire her to create these experiences for them are people who've got these like 50 to 100,000 person tribes. And she's creating these like destination events for them all over the world. And more importantly, she's super excited about her work in a way that she's never been before. She doesn't have this one business that she's just like so bored of that she's not even doing the work and it's like dying on the vine, you know? And she doesn't have this other business, which is like the shadow business where she's making all this money, but she was sort of not fully aligned with it. Now she's creating this one business that really aligns with who she is and her heart and soul. And it's come out as like the mouthpiece of this particular business. And it's been an incredible transformation because she was one person who swung in all these different directions, swinging one where business was just a commodity, right? Where it's just about selling products. And then in the other direction, she's meeting the market and serving a need that, you know, the market wanted, but it wasn't 100% what she wanted to do. And by kind of finding this area where she was able to be like the face and voice of this movement of using transformation as one of the tools to help people, you know, in their personal development path, it really inspired her to step forward and to just be so much more excited about her business.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I can see a lot of times we do work just because somebody said so, that that's the right business to do or a good business to do. And once you find congruence, it becomes so much easier to run the business and growth becomes so easy just because there is congruence, and especially when you have congruence with your brand and you can really show up and present your brand in our kind of industry, especially when you're a coach, author, speaker, any kind of transformational teacher, you need to be congruent for you to fully be able to show up and really be able to serve your audience. So we'll get right into the blueprint, but before we get in there, I wanted to kind of address what some of the people who right now are at this call might be thinking, that's not going to work for me. You know, like there's this little voice in our head always that kind of stops us to take action because we somehow reject the idea before even we have known what the idea is. I know one of the big voice in my head used to be when I started to show up in the world was I'm an introvert. Yeah. Right? It's like, what would you say to somebody like that? Somebody right now is thinking I'm an introvert. It's not going to work for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the thing, is like you don't have to be any different than who you are to step forward into the face and voice of your brand. Now, if you look at all these Hollywood celebrities, you've got like the breakdown of Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears. What's happening? You know, they're building a whole public persona based on someone that they're not. And eventually this cracks start to show and they get this like public freak out and breakdown. And that's not what I want. Like, I don't want you to build a business that's inauthentic to who you are, where you're forced to adopt characteristics and skills that are not naturally you, because that's not aligned with your gift. It's not going to be in the flow. So I wanted to share a story that not a lot of people know about Leonard Cohen. You know, Leonard Cohen, who recently passed away, when he was kind of an up-and-coming musician, he wasn't successful at all. He was really struggling to find his voice and get his music out there. And like a lot of musicians back in the 70s, he went and joined a Zen monastery. And he thought, well, if I just meditate enough, then I'm going to figure out what my voice is and be able to get out there and be successful. So he meditated, nothing happened. So eventually he asked for advice from his Zen master Roshi. And he went to his Zen master and said, Zen master Roshi, I don't know why, but nobody is really resonating with my music. And the Zen master said, Leonard, come and play me your music. I want to hear it. So he played a song, and the Zen master just listened. He listened and he listened. And at the end of the song, he said, Leonard, you need to sing more sad. So what Zen Master Roishi heard in Leonard's voice was this deep sadness that Leonard was afraid to express, because he didn't want to be the sad man singing sad songs in sad times. He thought he had to be more poppy, he thought he had to be more happy, or nobody was going to want to listen to his stuff. Because if he was just being his miserable self, who would listen? But once Leonard had permission to be precisely who he was, and he was able to express that voice, he became this blockbuster, like multi-platinum artist. But it was the voice that he was trying to hide. And the really interesting thing about doing this work is that so often your superpower, your strengths, your gifts, your voice, your personality, your energetics is something that you've started to bury down and not want to show and reveal to the world. Because somewhere along the line in childhood, it wasn't okay to be that. You know, I know when I go to a restaurant sometimes, like even as an adult with my dad, and I'm like my usual, you know, expressive self, he puts his hand on my arm, he's like, shh, Marisa, someone might hear you. And my mom also taught me, you know, children should be seen and not heard. So it's really interesting because my whole, you know, purpose on the planet is to be an expressive human being, to share my message. And that both of my parents would always be like, shh, telling me to be quiet. So trying to tell someone who's here to express themselves to be quiet, you know, that's not going to work. And I find that so often, whatever your gift is, it's precisely the thing that got you into trouble as a child, the thing that got you into trouble in school, the thing that people used to criticize for you, the thing that people used to tell you to kind of put under wraps because it was too much. Or maybe it made somebody else look bad, like your brother or your sister. When you shined, it made them shine a little less. So someone said, well, don't do that because you're going to make your brother uncomfortable, or your mother or your father. And this is so often our deep patterns that before we know it, we've become just a shell of ourselves and not fully expressing our light. You know, that famous Marianne Williamson's quote, it's not our you know, shadow that we're scared of, it's our light, it's our strength, it's our possibility. And oftentimes when you express that, it can be too much for some people. But the thing is that when you're willing to not be liked by everyone, it opens the gates to be loved by a few. But when you're trying to be this shade of vanilla that everybody's going to like, it ends up sounding and looking like everybody else. So you kind of end up falling into oblivion. And that's when nobody's paying attention to you. But when you start to step out and express your voice fully, that's when you create a lot more polarity, where people either resonate or they don't resonate. And that's what you want. But sometimes as you start to get those emails back of like, I don't like the way you said this, I don't like that, I found this triggering, people start to pull back. They say, oh my gosh, I don't want to offend anyone. Especially these transformational leaders who are so kind and so gentle and want to deeply serve. But that person wasn't particularly ready for your message, perhaps. Or they are here to kind of listen to another messenger. But it's only by being able to kind of overcome that and really boldly, fully express yourself, whatever that looks like to you, whether it's deep sadness, like Leonard Cohen. You know, for me, I can be very challenging. I like to challenge people out of their comfort zone to the next level of who they are. That can be too much for some people who are like, you know what? I just want someone who's going to hug me all the time and tell me it's going to be okay. You know? I don't want someone who's going to challenge me. But I know that that's who I am and that's my style. And when I can be in my style, I'm more deeply of service than when I'm trying to hold back or not offend someone or maybe not trigger someone's judgment or try to look good or try to be perfect. Whenever I'm doing all of that, then it doesn't work out so well. So if you're an introvert, be an introvert, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I mean, I know people who've developed their entire brand around being a jerk, and it works for them. Because people just like, you know, to have someone be a jerk to them, and they like that, right? Like whatever it is, the most important thing about building your personal brand is that it's a human brand. You know, who really likes those internet marketers come out, well, look at my fancy car, and look at my fancy yacht, and look at my, you know, beautiful wife, and all of these things, and that's what they're showing about who they are, and it comes across as really fake and phony and unauthentic, and people just roll their eyes, because they don't want the perfect version of you, they want the real version. They want the version of you that's got the scars and the wounds, the version of you that's fallen on your ass and wiped yourself up and gotten back up and said, you know what, I'm going to try this another day. That's who we want to learn from. We don't want to climb Mount Everest from someone who just got there the very first time on their first try with no problems. We want to climb Mount Everest with a guide who's been through the storms, who's gotten hurt, who's had to take care of himself and other people and thought they wouldn't make it to the top. You know, the person who never imagined they'd get to the top of the mountain.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. So a lot of you may be thinking, well, I can't do this because I'm an introvert, or I can be good on video or anything like that. It doesn't matter. It's more about what message you put out. And in the blueprint, we also go in and you realize it doesn't have to be video, right?
No.
Because that's one more thing
Yeah.
that I know. Right now, people think, oh, it's because Marisa, you know how to look good on a video, or Jeet, you know how to do videos. But I'm not the video person.
Yeah, you absolutely don't have to do video. But the really interesting thing, too, that happens is when you start to align and become congruent with your message, the things that felt intimidating no longer feel intimidating. So what I found for a lot of people is that when they feel a lot of resistance, whether it's towards blogging or writing emails or doing video or doing webinars or whatever the case may be, it's because they haven't fully aligned with their message. So it feels like a struggle and they feel a lot of resistance because it's not in full alignment. And what I find is that when you step into that alignment, it becomes so much easier to do things that were previously challenging, because a lot of times when people resist something, it's because they don't know what to say. There's not that deep belief in what they're saying and who they're being. So you're kind of like pulling back at the same time that you're being pulled forward. And so it's the start and stop pattern that I find people get into until they really unlock the kind of business that they're meant to build, not just the kind of business that they should build or they're told they should build or the strategies they've been given, but understanding, you know, this is how I can share my voice in a way that feels aligned with who I am, in a way where I can express my strengths, I can express my weaknesses, I can be real. And when you have that deep permission and trust to just be real and know that that is going to be not just accepted, but what people want, it cracks open a whole new sphere of what's possible in business, and it becomes so much more fun. So what was a task becomes just an opportunity to share your message and express who you are. And that's what I want people to feel, to make the move from executing these strategies and tactics and going through the motions to all of that being a way to really be who you are in the world and share your work with people, to express that deeper level of meaning, and to share your beliefs, your values. And when you communicate at that level, it's not only more fun, but it's what people want to hear.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's get into it now, because I think now it's like people are kind of ready for knowing what's the personal brand attraction blueprint. That's what everybody has come in to really learn. And this blueprint will give you all the stuff that we talked about, and hopefully will allow you to be in a lot more of your power, so you're not limited by what is a channel to communicate and if this is good or not good, because like Marisa said, that you are scared of the channel probably only because you have not really found that power within yourself and found that brand within yourself. So before we get into the blueprint, because I know a lot of people who are coming in right now are probably at a really early stage of business. Now we know some of the dialogues that might be happening in their head, some of the dialogues that they might be kind of stopping them. Is there something that you can tell them, like maybe there's somebody that you worked with that was a really early stage, so that kind of gives them that direction of saying, hey, listen, it works for everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. I was working with a client, her name was Lori Dupar, and she started out as a student of mine, and she's an ADHD coach. So she's working with people who've got ADHD, and she had a really kind of website and a brand that did not express who she was, and it really wasn't registering with her customers. So even though she was an incredible ADHD coach, she wasn't really getting noticed or standing out in her market. So she came to me to really do this work, to figure out how could she really take the business to the next level, how could she become more of an expert and an authority and a leader in her space, and start to command higher prices. So we did this work together, really helping her dial into her personal brand. And, you know, it was a challenge for her because she was more of like that kind of scientific, more analytical. As an ADHD coach, she had experience as a nurse. You know, she had really worked with her own children to help them out of ADHD, but making this leap to become this kind of public persona was new to her. And so we went through this branding process, and we really changed her brand completely. From, it was at the time Change of Focus, we changed it to Coaching for ADHD with Lori Dupar. And the very next year, she went from charging $90 an hour to charging $600 per session, to really having the highest rates in her industry, because this process of branding gave her so much more confidence than she had before, because she was able to tune into her unique value. So it was no longer about being an ADHD coach for her. It was how she was uniquely designed to serve in a way that nobody else can. So being able to change her rates from $90 an hour to $600 per session was really huge. And the other thing that she started to do was, at the time, she had only gotten about, I think, 30% of her customers were coming from online. And by really doing this process, 75% of her customers started coming from online. So she was really able to go beyond just meeting people one-on-one and kind of getting customers because she had that personal interaction with them, to understanding her brand so well that she could do marketing in a way that would really capture that connection as well. So now 75% of her customers were coming from the internet. And she started getting speaking engagements at all of the top conferences because she now looked and felt like the part. She felt like a real expert rather than just someone who was trying to be a coach. So she started getting $5,000 per speaking engagement. And she actually went on to launch several books and several summits and really scale her business. And I think that next year, she also not only hit the six-figure mark, but she grew her tribe to 10,000 people. So it was one of those processes that gave her so much clarity in who she was and her unique value for the world, that she stopped, going from this thing of charging per the hour to really honoring and recognizing how much she was worth and what she stood for and how to communicate that in a way that people could say yes to. So what I find with this process is, even though externally it may lead to like more beautiful design and better words, the real transformation here is an internal transformation of gaining that crystal clarity and confidence and belief in the full value of what you do. And I find that that is the biggest game changer for people who do this kind of personal branding work, because for the first time you get who you are, you get how to communicate, and you deeply feel that you are the person to share this message, because every message has a messenger. There may be multiple people with a similar message, but you are the messenger for this message in this particular way. And when you can own that, it gives you that level of clarity and confidence of almost being able to go up to anyone, anywhere, speak your message, and really believe it with every ounce of your body. And when you believe that, people feel that belief, and it's like, whoosh, I get that. I get her. And I really want to work with this person.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can see how that would be great value for the people who are listening, because a few of them might be just starting out to be able to really own their message, own and be that messenger for that particular message. Now, let's get right into it. Let's look at what's that blueprint. So individuals that are looking at this right now are going, they're probably at the edge of their seat going, I want to know how I can also transform my story from not knowing what my business is, which is the first story that we talked about, to actually being able to really own it and create a whole new business. Or when you're starting out, you're charging just a couple of bucks per hour to going $600, $700, $800 a session. So let's get right into it as to what is this personal brand attraction blueprint.
Great, let me show it to you. Before we dive into your personal brand attraction blueprint, I want to quickly answer the question that you may be asking yourself, which is, what exactly is a personal brand and why does it matter? Personal branding is essentially the process of packaging and marketing yourself as if you were a brand, an icon, a household name, even if you're just getting started, because that's how you become your brand. Personal branding happens when you amplify the most powerful parts of who you are and bring them forward into the spotlight. Personal branding is the first impression that you make when you walk into a room and what people say about you when you leave. Personal branding can run through every email you write. It shows up in every conversation, and it appears the moment you turn the camera on or walk onto stage. Personal branding is the consistent impression that you make day after day, not just the first impression, but the second impression, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and every single impression that you make on people every single day, which is why you've got to craft your brand carefully if you're going to be able to maintain it year after year. So personal branding is about working out who you are and what makes you different in a way that matters, in a way that resonates with people, not just being different for the sake of being different, and then enhancing and accentuating those unique elements in everything from the way that you dress to the way that you talk, so you become memorable and irreplaceable. Your personal brand is essentially what you represent to the tribe of people who follow you and buy from you. It's a combination of what makes you who you are, as well as how you represent those attributes through your physical appearance, your title, your bio, your work, and as we'll see, a whole lot more. And the way you do that is by being incredibly clear about who you are and what you're doing in the marketplace. So your audience feels like they know who you are at your core. They know what you stand for. And that opens the way to being liked, trusted, and admired. I think you'll agree with me that history is full of absolutely brilliant people with life-changing ideas, life-changing solutions, life-changing works of art who never got the recognition that they deserved. That's because they made the first and biggest mistake of personal branding. And that mistake is believing that what you know is more important than who you are. They believed that the key to success was to simply have better ideas, better content, and better products than the next guy. And they were wrong. Yet huge numbers of people spend decades or even their entire lives getting wicked good at their craft, really mastering what they do. I was one of them. Going to seminar after seminar, getting certifications and PhDs. I mean, how many broke PhDs are there in the world? So many that it's becoming a cliche. The problem is that not enough people spend time developing who they are and how they're being in their work. The impact that you have when you walk into a room, or you open your mouth and talk to someone, or somebody lands on your website. That's why what I'm about to show you is so important. Welcome to your personal brand attraction blueprint, or how to authentically attract, convert, and engage your audience. As you can see, right in the middle of this blueprint is who you are and how you're showing up in the world, which accounts for a whopping 80% of how people perceive you and whether they're attracted to you and your business. And then around the center core, we have, in order of importance, what you know, what you create, and who you know. Most people start with what they create. They start building websites and products before they're even clear on what they know and who they serve. And because of that, they have a hard time inspiring people to follow them. Their message is unclear and confusing. People don't understand what they do or who they serve. And they're not inspired to find out because nobody's home. The messenger hasn't showed up to the party. And here's the secret. If you show up fully confident and aligned, you'll attract people with your energy before you even open your mouth and say anything. You really can't build your brand in reverse. It all starts with you giving yourself permission to show up to the party, to step forward as the face and the voice of your brand, to take the lid off your self-expression. You with me? Great. So let's dive into each of these 4 main areas in your brand attraction blueprint, starting with the most important, who you are, or how you attract your audience in a way that nobody else can. So who you are is informed by your personality, who you really are, your energy, or the spirit in which you show up, your personal story, the life that you've lived, and the credibility that gives you through your very experiences, your values and beliefs, the things that you deeply believe that really inform your actions, your voice or the feeling tone of your communication, how people feel through the words that you speak and the words that you write, your physical appearance or the way that you dress that forms that instantaneous impression when you walk into a room or somebody watches you for the first time. Who you are is all about how you're different and how you show up in the world, which shapes people's perception of you and their response towards you. Who you are pushes the wrong customers, students, and clients away from you while causing the right people to be drawn in towards you. Moving on to what you know. What you know includes your superpower, the core gift that you have that underlies everything that you do through your work and through your business. Your juicy title or the way that you describe yourself and the role that you play for people. The problem that you solve. What is it that you actually do for people? How do you help them? And how you solve that problem through your signature system, process, or technique, the unique way that you do what you do. Your background and credibility, or the results that you've gotten for yourself and for other people. So what you know is how you express the unique value that you create for people through your work, through your business, through your coaching. Now moving on to what you create. What you create includes your website, how people feel when they land on your site for the very first time, your message and brand, the words that you speak, and the way that you show up just instantaneously through the visual signals that you send in your branding, your photography that you use to represent yourself, the videos that you do if you choose to record videos to get your message out into the world, any books and articles that you write if you prefer to write your message than to speak your message, email and social media, how you really show up in your emails and in the communications that you post on a daily basis on all your social networks, your signature talks and events, or what happens if you step onto stage or do a webinar or something like that, your actual products or trainings that people are buying from you, and how you're showing up in a unique way through the products and trainings that you create. So what you create are all the specific vehicles that you use to attract, convert, and engage your audience, or how you actually deliver value to the people that you serve. Now moving on to who you know, which is last but definitely not least. Who you know includes your prospects, the relationships you have with people who've raised their hand and said, you know what, I'm interested in working with you. And the people you get into conversation with about that potential of working together. Your relationship with your students, your customers, and clients. What happens once people actually pay you money and enter your world to begin that customer journey with you? Your partners are the people who actually choose to promote you and help you spread the message about your work. And your tribe are all the subscribers and people who are in touch with you through your world, but who haven't yet taken the plunge necessarily, and of course the people that have taken the plunge as well. So who you know is all about your relationships and the connections that you build with your tribe of people, the community that you serve, the people who are listening to you. Now here's the secret. It's impossible to focus on everything. And if you try to amplify too many things, you create noise. You're trying to communicate like the sun in a big beam of light that casts on everybody, rather than really focusing your message like a laser so it can pierce through the noise of a billion websites online. Or maybe you do everything kind of halfway and aren't truly extraordinary in anything. So what are the elements that you can use to truly distinguish yourself, rather than trying to be everything to everyone? The other secret is to pull the essence of who you are through what you do, what you create, and who you serve. So everything takes on a unique feeling tone. When you do this really well, people will start to feel you through your website and your products and everything that you do. You're going to want to understand how each one of these elements can impact the impression that you create, and select 2 to 3 elements within each of these 4 areas that best support who you are, what you do, and how you show up in a way that really lands with your audience. You're going to want to choose elements that differentiate you in a meaningful way to your audience and complement your unique gifts and talents. In acting, there's an expression to find the light. There's a flattering angle for everyone where each person looks their best and sounds their best and feels their best. And this is all about accentuating your strengths, amplifying the best of who you are. So don't worry about needing to feel strong in all of these areas. Focus on a couple elements in each area that you know you can do well and that will really showcase you. And when I say accentuate your strengths, that doesn't mean that you always have to be strong for people or you always have to be perfect. It just means that you're showing up fully in the moment as who you are, which includes all the so-called character flaws and all the so-called weaknesses and all the things that make you lovable, because people love characters and other people who are willing to show up fully as they are, to embrace the best of who they are and the worst of who they are too. So the 8 to 12 elements that you choose to focus on form your unique brand attraction blueprint, or the elements that you use to attract your ideal clients to you like a magnet, to attract the people who believe what you believe and appreciate you for who you are. Because that's when you start to love your work and love your clients, because you get to be fully expressed. You get to show up as all of you in your work rather than trying to hide who you are or put on this guise of being professional or trying to look good or trying to look perfect. You just get to be who you are, and business and coaching becomes so much more fun when you can just show up as who you are and let your freak flag fly in the best of ways. We don't have time in this webinar to go in depth on how to create all 23 of these elements in a way that aligns with your personal brand, but I did want to give you a taste of what this looks like when you start to drill down into each of these elements until they come alive for you, your business, and ultimately your tribe. Right now, I want to talk about one key asset of who you are and how you show up in the world that has the power to instantly attract and magnetize your audience to you, and that's your physical appearance. I'm going to teach you something now that will completely change the way you dress forever. In the next few minutes, you're going to craft your 3-word style statement. Ignore this one or get it wrong, and whatever credibility that you might have had in the eyes of your audience will be instantly gone, poof, just like that, before you've even had a chance to open your mouth. This is actually a mistake that I made for the first 22 years of my life. One of my first jobs out of college was as a photographer's assistant. I'd been hired by a portrait photographer who made over $1 million a year. You heard me right, $1 million a year. Now, most photographers are struggling to make ends meet, and this man was making millions. So I had always been a bit of a shutterbug, so I was super stoked to get the job until he handed me my contract. And on the very first page was a clause that kind of floored me. It said that I had to wear makeup to work each day. And I had never worn makeup before in my life, and the thought of being forced to wear makeup kind of disgusted me. I wanted to be recognized for my ideas, for my smarts, for what made me who I was, and not just be another pretty face and lipstick and heels. So I started to object. Isn't this discrimination? What is this, Hooters? Why should I have to wear makeup? And Jeff looked right at me and said, Marisa, we're in the business of creating people's images. If you don't look like someone they want to be, they're not going to trust us with their image. And that hit me hard. I had spent my entire life trying to prove myself, my worth, and my value by working hard. But I was turning people off before I could turn them on by having this childish, knee-jerk reaction against makeup and being seen at face value, as if looking good objectified who I was and discredited my ideas. I thought physical appearance was for movie stars and athletes, people who made a living with their looks and their bodies, not for people like me. But I was wrong, seriously wrong. So many of us kind of put on clothes without a thought and schlump around town or throw up any old ugly website and think it doesn't matter because people are just going to recognize our brilliance through it all. They're going to see you as that diamond in the rough. But the tragedy, as we've seen, is that people make snap judgments within seconds of meeting you, and you make snap judgments about them. They're oftentimes wrong, but quick decisions based on limited information is the only way we have time to get anything done in today's super busy world. Because the reality is, if you don't look the part, if how you present yourself to the world doesn't support your message, doesn't lend credibility to what you do, you're dead in the water. No one's going to trust you with their hard-earned money if you're not sending signals that model your work and the transformation that you promise. And that's another mistake that people make when they go about branding themselves. It's the mistake of not modeling your work. These things matter. They're not nice to haves or someday, one day kind of things. Yet so many people expect that other people are going to treat them differently and automatically get how important their message is and just see them for who they are, see their brilliance, regardless of whether they've taken the time to really put it out there in a way that commands their attention. So Jeff Lubin, the portrait photographer, was making millions of dollars for a reason, and I was a broke college grad for a reason. Right then and there, I realized that it was time to step up and put on my big girl pants. So Jeff took me to the mall, and he sat me down at the clearance counter. And this woman with bright red hair and purple eyeshadow proceeded to slather me with makeup. And at first it was horribly uncomfortable. I felt like a fake and a fraud and a phony, completely inauthentic and not me at all. But once I got over that, I started to notice that people were looking at me differently, treating me differently. I started getting opportunities that I never had before. Because now people were open and receptive to me and my message in a way that they never were before. My message didn't change. Who I was didn't change. The only thing that changed was the way that I was presenting myself, and that opened doors that I never imagined were closed to me before, until I started to open them. So the lesson here isn't about makeup. The lesson is this: when you fail to model the theme and caliber of your work and the way that you show up in the world, whether that's in person, on your website, or on social media, then no one believes the transformation or the outcome that you promise through your coaching business. So now I'm going to tackle one piece of how you present yourself, which is how you dress when you show up in person or make videos or get pictures for your social media profiles. It may sound like a simple thing, but a lot of people struggle with this, get it wrong, or just don't even try to figure it out. Everyone, even those diamond in the rough types, have their own personal style, even if they don't know it. And what I'm going to show you now is how to define your personal style in a way that makes you instantly recognizable, memorable, and seen as a leader, as someone to listen to, someone with natural authority. And by doing this, you're going to know exactly what to wear and what not to wear, regardless of the occasion. This one's courtesy of my friend Mary Kincaid, a thought leader on style and image and founder of the lifestyle blog Zaburbia. Mary recommends developing a 3-word style statement to guide you in selecting clothes and accessories and making choices about your appearance. You're going to want to choose 3 words that support your brand and feel like you. For example, my style is modern, creative, and natural, which means that everything I wear has all 3 of these qualities. And you'll notice that my website has these qualities too. So whenever I buy something that ends up sitting in my closet, it invariably doesn't fit my 3-word style statement. A lot of times it captures 2 of the words, like natural and creative, but it's hippie instead of modern. Or it's modern and creative, but it feels a little too shiny or blingy for me. Something's off. But when I find something that fits all 3 words, that's modern, creative, and natural, it feels just right. Not too hot, not too cold, but just right. I feel congruent. I feel like my brand. I feel like me. And the key is to have 3 words, because often the 3rd word is the hardest word to define and the word that truly differentiates you. Now guys, don't think this exercise is just for women. The other day I was visiting my good friend Ariana and her friend Mark. I mentioned the 3-word style statement over dinner and they were instantly intrigued with the idea. So we brainstormed their style statements. Mark's was hip, smart, and casual, and Ariana's was bohemian, comfy, and sexy. It sounds simple, but dialing into these words has really given them a way to become much more aware of their style. So they filter all their choices through, is it hip, smart, and casual? Or is it bohemian, comfy, and sexy? It really does make shopping and dressing a whole lot easier, guiding your everyday choices, so you can show up in a way that supports your message and reaffirms your status as a leader, a messenger, and perhaps even an icon. Once you get the hang of your 3-word style statement, you'll know what to wear for your photo shoot or on your next video. You'll know what photos to choose for your social media profiles, and you can share this with your friends and family so they can stop giving you those horrible reindeer sweaters for Christmas and give you something that you'll actually like and wear and feel good in, which is what really, really matters. You want to feel good in the way that you're showing up. Okay, so knowing your 3-word style statement is awesome. But of course, personal branding goes a lot deeper than just how you dress. As you saw, there are 23 possible elements in your personal brand attraction blueprint. And it's important to really understand each one so you can make a conscious choice about which elements to amplify and bring to the forefront of your business and your brand. But here's the thing. If people don't believe you, the messenger, they don't believe your message. But when you're excited about your business, when you believe in the words that you speak, when you've aligned your brand with who you really are, people can feel it. It's like it's palpable, it's physical. They get a gut feeling that you're the real deal, the real thing, someone that they need to pay attention to. And you can have that. You can be that inspirational voice to your tribe by simply using this process to become the youest version of you. If you want people to flock to your business and share your message, you need a personal brand that's meaningful. If you want to charge a premium for your knowledge, your time, your expertise, you need a personal brand that's relevant. And if you want to become the #1 authority in your field, you need a personal brand that's memorable. And I hope this training has inspired you to step into your role as the messenger behind your message, because your tribe is waiting for you to step up and live your message.
Wow, that was amazing. That was so good. Thank you so much for that. At this point, while you're watching this, I wanna give you a consideration to have. You now have a full-on blueprint that shows you how you can also bring your personal brand out. You can also be more into your own body, your own experience, your own self, and be able to communicate that in the real world. Now you know how to really use your different connections and how to really communicate really more effectively. You have an idea of how to really take the next steps from it. Most people would stop there. They would learn something like this, something as amazing as this, and they would actually not take any action. And that is why most coaches, most entrepreneurs kind of get stuck in that place where they're always in the cycle of saying, I need to learn more. And all they do is, I need to learn more, I need to learn more, and they don't take any action on it. And that gap is the one where they get half information and they're not willing to take the full information, they're not willing to take action, and that kind of limits them from going from conceptual progress to an action and a result progress. You see, any success is not just you deciding you want to be somewhere and you're there. It's not poof magic. It is process. It's a step-by-step progress that you make. The first progress that you make, and the first step of the first progress you made today was conceptual progress, where you understand the concept of saying, what is personal brand power? What is it that it needs to be? Why is it important? How can you really bring it to your business? Now you need to continue to build that concept and then take action on that concept. That's the next step. And then finally, once you take action based on the knowledge that you gathered, based on the concept that you built, you are able to get the results that you truly want to achieve. And I know the training that you got, it's amazing and it's totally useful, of course, and you can use it into action right now, right away. But at the same point in time, most of us need more help. Most of us need to be able to go, okay, I need to do those exercises more deeply. Most of us need to kind of understand those concepts a lot more powerfully. Most of us want to figure out, okay, exactly how does this look like? Most of us need that extra support to be able to actually take it to an action step, which is where we brought Marisa's program, Personal Brand Power to EverCoach. And we want to offer that to you today at a very, very special price. Now, we have already invested an hour plus into this training, and I'm grateful that you have taken and given us that opportunity, invested your really precious time with us, and we've been able to add tremendous value with that. But to really shine in today's world, in this reality that we live in, we need to be able to come out and live in our power, live in our strength. And this is where we brought in Personal Brand Power. And I'll invite you, Marisa, if you could tell a little bit more about what is it that people are going to get when they actually experience the personal brand power. What is it that is the outcome they can expect when they are living in that space?
Excellent question. Thank you. Yeah, first of all, when you understand your personal brand, you stop being unconscious about the way that you're showing up and just having an accidental impression on people where they just judge you based on one thing that you happen to say or what you happen to be wearing at a particular time or your particular mood in that moment. And you understand how to show up, whether it's walking into a room, whether it's doing a webinar, whether it's writing an email, in a way that fully reflects the best of who you are. So you understand what attributes to really amplify, where to turn up the dial in your expression. Because if you try to turn all the dials up, it results in noise. So a lot of people, when they start to brand themselves, they don't understand which dials to turn. So they just turn them all up. And then people like, oh my gosh, I don't get this person, they're too complex, I can't really get a read on them. The truth is, when people are judging you very quickly, you can really only turn up the dial on a handful of signals at once. You can't turn them all up. In politics, it's very common. Someone loses the election if people can't talk about them in one sentence or less, right? So how are someone going to talk about you? What would they say about you? And how can you impact and influence that perception in a way that really aligns with who you naturally are? So no matter where they find you, they always find the same person. It's not like you're one person from the stage, you're another person when they meet you in person, and you're another person in your emails. You're like the same person all the way through. Now, the really interesting thing about developing a personal brand is that what you do can change as long as who you are stays consistent. You know, one of the worst things you could say about someone is they're a flip-flopper. They believe one thing one day and they believe another thing another day. But when you take the time to really align with your values, you understand your core beliefs, even if your business changes, even if your niche changes later, if you build a tribe, they will follow you from one niche to the next niche to the next niche if you change your mind and grow into new niches in the future. Because you've built trust and connection based on who you are. So when you lead with who you are first, you're building a tribe that works with you based on who you are, not necessarily based on what you do. So it actually gives you a whole lot more flexibility later on. It gives you that inner confidence of knowing that when you speak, you're deeply aligned with what you're saying and how you're saying it. You know, you're not just doing this marketing stuff because you want to make a sale. You actually are in alignment with the message that you're saying. And when you believe the words that are coming out of your mouth, other people believe them.
So you are more congruent, you're building a tribe, you're able to dial up the right kind of dials. These are some of the key benefits that you kind of enjoy once you understand your personal brand power. You're able to really dial up what really is important. You're able to bring a tribe together, like you said, which also not just is there for you for that immediate gain, but they're there for you forever and ever.
Yeah, and you become an unmistakable voice in the market. And that's critical because the more people flood into the market, the more coaches kind of come into the market and more of them are coming in every single day. If you're not an unmistakable voice, then you're going to be lost in the noise of a billion voices. And that's basically it. Like if you don't do this work, you will not be able to stand out. And that's really sad because if what you have to say is important, but you're saying it the same way that everybody else is saying it, people can't hear that message. And that's the saddest thing ever, because when you know that you've got something, and then you're talking to people, and you just see them glazing over and they're not really responding, that's the worst feeling, because you feel deeply misunderstood and undervalued and unrecognized, when all you want to do is be of service. But when you know what to say, and you know how to say it, then now you can shift from trying to figure out, well, what do I say and what I'm about, to just being that, and doing that, and really serving at the deepest level.
That's so true. That's so true. So we are right now offering all those things to you to be able to be the voice that you want to be out there in the world, not be like everybody else, be that outstanding personality that you are, being able to build your tribe at a very, very special price. This price is only available while you are here at this online training and this online workshop. And the reason for that is because we at EverCoach like to recognize people who are willing to take action, who are not only believing in the conceptual progress that they need to have, but they want to take action. They want to move forward. There's a certain level of commitment that they have in their being so they can take action, they can keep moving forward. And with that intention, I want to invite you at this point to go ahead and look at this very special discounted price right now and go ahead and take action. Now, here's what you get with EverCoach. Not only the great benefits that you will have by being in the personal brand power program, because that will of course give you the results that you really, really desire for your brand. But if by any chance that doesn't work for you, you have full 30 days to be able to send us an email at support@evercoach.com, and we're going to send you your full money back. That is our commitment to you, because we believe in what we do so much. We believe in our teachers so much that we know that you will never ask for that refund. We know that you're going to take this program and you're going to take action. And that's what we really want to do at EverCoach. That's what we really stand for, that this education will move you further along in your journey and get you to go to the next steps of that journey. Now, let's break down the program a little bit for our listeners here. What is it that they're getting inside the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go deep into each of these core 4 areas of your personal brand, starting with the most important, which is who you are. And who you are is the tone, the energy, the personality, the way that you dress, the voice that you use to communicate. And I don't mean necessarily the sound of your voice, but the words that you choose and how that emotionally impacts people. Really understanding all these aspects of who you are and the signals that create the impression in your tribe of who you actually are. So all the ones that I just mentioned in the training, we're going to go deep and do exercise around defining each and every one of these things. So you're going to come away understanding your values and beliefs and how to convey that in your work. You're going to come away understanding your voice and your feeling tone of your work. You're going to understand the energetic with which you show up and what attributes of your personality are going to be really important to your work. When you dial into all of these things, you're no longer showing up based on your mood. You're showing up in your power. You're showing up at your best. You're showing the version of yourself that's the most magnetic, most engaging, most awesome version of you, the youest version of you. And then you're infusing that into everything that you create. So the next piece of our puzzle is what you actually create. So we're going to look at whether it's websites, whether it's blog posts, whether it's speeches and events, whether it's training programs, whether it's photography or videos, whatever it is, we're going to look at all the different aspects of what you create and how to bring everything about who you are into what you create. So wherever you're showing up aligned with who you really are. We're also going to look at what you do. You know, what is your signature system? What is the problem that you solve? What's the title that you use to describe yourself? We're going to look at all these aspects of what you do and how to position that too. So it also aligns with who you are and what you create. And then finally, we're going to look at who you know. What are the most important relationships in your business? It's the relationships to your tribe, the subscribers and followers who have not yet become a customer. It's your relationship that you create for prospects. What happens when someone comes on your world and says, you know what, I'm interested in working with you? How do you create that relationship intentionally? How do you create the relationship with your customers, your clients, your students? And ultimately, how do you create relationships with your partners, the people who want to share your message with other people so you can grow and expand that tribe? So we're going to work deeply in each of the 4 areas of your personal brand attraction blueprint, starting with who you are, then what you do, then what you create, and then who you know. So in all of these areas, you're very intentionally choosing the places that you want to dedicate your time and effort. And by the way, you don't have to do every single one of these things. You focus on what are the signals that are going to be most powerful to you, what are the signals that best reflect your strengths and align with your core skills and gifts. So you can be expressing yourself in your power, not in your kind of weakness. So we're going to choose the signals that are going to matter most also for your industry based on the kind of business that you're building. What are the signals that become most important that help people say yes the quickest? So we're going to work on all of these aspects of your personal brand attraction blueprint. So you walk away with complete 100% confidence in who you are and how to show up and how to do what you do in the world in a way that not only you can see the deeper level of value and worth in that, but so can everybody else. So you can shift from the obligation of doing your business in a particular way to running your business based on inspiration because it becomes an expression of who you are in the best version of who you are. And you're building the business that's yours to build and not the business that everybody else says you're supposed to be building.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And we are doing one better. Not only do you get all these different breakdown of modules when you order today, but what you also get into your membership area is we are going to bonus you a very special presentation that I was talking about previously that Marisa did at one of our events, which got a standing ovation. It was one of the best presentations. It gives a full breakdown on how to even further enhance your brand and further live into your power. And we're going to give that presentation with all the worksheets, all the material to you absolutely for free if you decide to order right away. So you're not only getting all of this amazing material that you get to kind of figure out how to really live your power more, to be able to present yourself out there in the world, to be able to really communicate your message so effectively, but what we are going to do for you is we are actually adding some incredible bonuses to this program for you to take this program right now and make that difference into your business right away. So yes, you get personal brand power, But what you get as an added bonus, first of all, is a very special presentation that Marisa made at our event a couple of months ago, which actually helps you even further enhance the power that you would have discovered once you have taken the course. So yes, you discover your personal brand power, and then we say, all right, let's amplify that. So we give you that as well as an added bonus training. But Marisa did one better. She said, why don't we invite them to my event where we are going to actually train them on not only finding their power, but actually to even further amplify and say, here's how you use to really build a business. Tell us a little bit about the event, Marisa.
Yeah, so Message to Money Live, this is the 6th time that we're doing it, and it's become like a blockbuster event, and we only do it one time a year, and it's happening soon. So at Message to Money Live, I teach the 4 master keys of online business success. And here's the thing, so many people are out there teaching all of these different tactics that are based on tools and technologies and things like that, but they're not teaching the foundational strategies that have always worked to build a business. So at Message to Money Live, I teach 4 foundational strategies that have been responsible for helping me get from just beginning to building a multi-million-dollar business in just 5 years. And now I'm working with a lot of 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs as well as emerging entrepreneurs. So those 4 master keys are, first of all, the clarity key. Now, the clarity key is not just clarity around your personal brand, but clarity around your business as a whole, and really understanding how to message every aspect of what you do so it stands out in a noisy marketplace. The second one is the strategy master key. Now, the strategy master key is the no-hype way of knowing exactly what to do and when to do it based on the stage of business development that you're at. So many people are teaching the same strategies to everyone. But the truth is that the same strategies don't work for everyone. It really is based on where you are in your business and what strategies are going to get you to the next level. So I kind of cut through the hype and show you exactly what to do based on exactly where you are right now to get to the next step in your business growth. And this is super critical when people understand they can stop doing all of the stuff that they were doing and just to focus on this handful of things to move forward, start getting more customers and making more money. It's a huge relief. Next, they learn the money master key. The money master key is about inspiring more people to invest more money more often to make a bigger difference in their life. Now, this is how you take a single offer, whether it's a service or a product, and expand it into an entire integrated product suite that a lot of times 10x's your product income by really understanding what the next step is for people and anticipating their journey at precisely the right moment. So the healthiest businesses make 80% of their sales in the back end. And if you're in a business that's just based on getting more clients, you're on the marketing treadmill. And you're actually working 1,200% too hard because it's 12 times easier to sell more to an existing customer than to inspire a new customer to buy something they've never bought before. So I'm going to teach you the secret of developing a really healthy suite of products so you turn one-time buyers into raving fans and repeat buyers who give you this really thriving business. And then last, you're going to learn the tribe master key. Now, a lot of forms of tribe building don't really work for people depending on the stage of business that they're at. So you're going to understand exactly the right tribe building strategies for you so you can get off that marketing treadmill and put all of your effort in just 2 to 3 different forms of tribe building that naturally work with your gifts and your strengths and your particular topic and industry so you can really understand how to build a tribe that's going to resonate with you and love you. So not just how you're showing up in your marketing, but exactly which kinds of marketings to do. So you can start to grow that tribe and get out of the just one-on-one work and start to build a healthier business where you're serving groups and you're talking to thousands of people at once potentially. So those are the 4 master keys that we're going to be covering.
Wow, that's amazing. So you, when you order today, not only get the personal brand power, but you also get a bonus video that gives you a further amplification of your brand power, and you get to go to an event which actually shows you how to really generate more revenue out of the brand power that you have already found. So that total package today is available at a huge discount that you can take action right now and get all of it right away. Okay? But before we get there, I do want to tell you that this offer is limited. And the reason why it is limited is because just the cost of producing something like this, just the ability to be able to get free tickets to seminars like that is a huge cost to us. But we do want to reward people who take action. We do want to reward people in many different and powerful ways. The things that you're getting, just the bonuses that we briefly mentioned towards the end, is probably worth a couple of $1,000s. And what you're getting this program for is just a few hundred. Remember, at any point, if you feel that you are not congruent to what we have positioned to you, or if you feel that this program is not right for you in the first 30 days, you can always send us an email at support@evercoach.com and we'll fully refund your money. On that note, and thanking Marisa for this phenomenal training, I'm going to let you guys go and execute some of this stuff, and I'll let you guys go get your copy of Personal Brand Power. Thank you very much, Marisa.
Thank you.